Welcome to Zoe Stories. They told me dressing like a woman was part of the job. Nobody told me it would become my life. My name is Amir, late 20s, product manager at a boutique advertising agency, and the kind of man who wore plain shirts to meetings and measured his emotional displays like he measured KPIs, neat, conservative, and marketable. By day, I navigated client pitches, timelines, and the office thermostat wars. By night, I held a different kind of meeting alone in the apartment we shared with Isabella. That private ritual began as an experiment, a secret performance I thought I could control. Control, as I was about to learn, is the illusion that gets you comfortable enough to believe you're safe. Isabella is the magnetic kind of woman people notice before they meet her. She's sharp, beautiful in that effortless way, tall, with a laugh that makes strangers lean in, and she works in fashion consulting, which means our apartment is half fabric swatches and half design magazines. She calls me pragmatic. I call her a walking invitation. Our relationship was uncomplicated for a long time. 2 careers, shared groceries, and a careful mutual respect for privacy. That boundary started to blur the first time I put on one of Isabella's dresses. The job started innocently. Isabella had been hired for a campaign that needed a convincing male-to-female transformation for a commercial shoot. The team wanted authenticity, and she said, half joking, "You should try it, Amir. You understand the client story." It began as a favor, helping model a look, learning to walk in a heel to advise the director. I agreed because it was practical and because the idea felt strangely thrilling without consequences. I thought I could be professional about it. I was wrong in the most interesting, dangerous way. That first night, with a faint hum of the city beyond the blinds, she helped me pick through her wardrobe. A black sheet that fit like it had been written for me, stockings soft against my calves, and a pair of heels that scheduled a new kind of posture into my body. There was makeup, light, practice strokes that softened angles, and invited light to behave differently on my face. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a version of myself I hadn't afforded a name. Someone who carried a grin that belonged to someone else. Someone who moved with a different kind of permission. Isabella laughed at how natural I looked, and that laugh felt like a verdict and a benediction at once. It didn't stop at the job. What began as an exercise for empathy metastasized into something I visited whenever the apartment felt too full of deadlines and compromise. There was a sensual clarity in the ritual, the hush of makeup brushes, the quiet concentration of choosing a dress, the new rhythm heels gave to my steps. The persona that emerged, Sophia, sometimes Stella, when I was being dramatic in my head, was calm and daring all at once. The paradox was simple and stubborn. When I dressed like a woman, I felt less like I was hiding and more like I was becoming something honest. That honesty came with edges. I learned quickly that being Sophia wasn't just about satin and eyeliner. It was an emotional state that rewired how I took risks. I noticed the mirror watching me differently, the apartment seeming to rearrange itself to accommodate my secret. Work conversations that used to exhaust me now felt like a costume I could shrug off. With Sophia, I was softer, louder, funnier, wider in ways Amir had never been. Still, secrecy clung like perfume. I loved Isabella fiercely, and I feared losing what we had. The rules we lived by, no surprises, mutual respect for private histories, felt fragile. How could I reconcile a part of myself that felt so alive in silence with the woman who had taught me how to make that life possible? I told myself it was a private vice, a harmless parallel life. I had to keep it separate. I had to be careful. The apartment we shared became a stage where domesticity and duplicity balanced on the same kitchen counter. There were small logistics that needed tending. 2 toothbrushes, a robe hung by the shower that was technically hers and technically mine when she was away, and the odd pair of heels tucked behind suitcases. I learned to time my transformations for when Isabella had late meetings or weekends away. I studied her schedule like a strategist. It was exhilarating. Every stealthy step into the other life felt like a tiny conquest. But secrets have a gravity. They bend conversations, slip into silences, and gather momentum until the truth becomes a thing with mass. The worry that kept me awake most nights was not whether Isabella would judge me, though that fear was real, but whether my double life would start to rewrite our shared reality. Would her casual teasing one night about little surprises turn into suspicion? Could a misplaced heel or a lipstick-smudged towel undo years of trust? The more time I spent as Sophia, the more my two worlds overlapped. The border between job and life, costume and self, thinned like fabric pulled too tight. There were practical fears, too. Colleagues at the agency were tidy people. Gossip circulated like coffee grounds. My reputation mattered. If a client ever found out that Amir, the product manager, loved pulling on stockings and practicing a soft smile in the mirror, would they still trust him with their brand? Would Isabella? These weren't just petty anxieties. They were potential detonators for a life I had slowly curated. And yet, every time I stood in front of the mirror and tilted my head to consider the new silhouette, the fear felt both real and petty. In those moments, the truth was simple. Under the scarves and power suits, under the spreadsheets and meeting notes, there was a person who loved the feeling of becoming someone else. That love was quieter than the city at night and louder than my pulse. It was a dangerous treasure, one I kept polished and hidden. Tonight, the ritual feels different. The air hums with a tension I can't name. Isabella is supposed to be at a client dinner until midnight. The agency calendar says she won't be home until late. I have time, hours to slip into the costume and practice the walk and make a sketchy evening of it. Yet something presses against the edges of the plan. A neighbor's knock last week, a misplaced dress with a tag that reads Isabella, and an inbox message that might pull her home early. Small things, easily dismissed. Or the crumbs before an avalanche. I stand by the bedroom doorway with a dress over one arm, heels balanced in my other hand, and for the first time since the started, a new question aches behind everything else. What happens when the job that asked me to dress like a woman stops being an assignment and becomes the only truth I know? The apartment felt bigger when Isabella wasn't home. Not peaceful, dangerous. Like every wall was watching me decide whether I'd finally cross a line I couldn't come back from. I locked the front door, double-checked it, then checked it again. Her heels clicked faintly in my memory, the sound of her returning earlier than expected on random nights. The threat sat at the back of my neck like a cold finger. Tonight was supposed to be safe. She had a client dinner across town. A late one. A long one. A predictable one. That was the lie I told myself, so I could breathe. The truth? Isabella's job was chaos stitched inside designer elegance. She could walk through the door at any moment, laughing, annoyed, tired, or suspicious, and I wouldn't even hear the elevator in time to change. But tonight, I needed to be Sophia more than I needed to be safe. I walked into our bedroom slowly, closing the door behind me even though I was alone. The curtains were drawn, the lamp dimmed to a gold glow that made the room feel like someone else's. Like a backstage dressing room. Like a secret. And hanging on the wardrobe door was the dress I had set out hours earlier. A soft rose-pink wrap dress Isabella had worn once to an event where everyone whispered that she looked like the star they should have invited instead of the one they did. I remembered how the dress moved on her, fluid, whispering, stolen breath beautiful. I also remembered the way she tossed it on the hanger afterward, saying it was too feminine, even for me. For me, though, it was perfect. I reached out and let my fingers glide across its fabric. Warm. Smooth. Dangerous. A dress was supposed to be just cloth. But this one felt like an invitation. A dare. Just 1 hour, I whispered to myself. Then corrected it. Maybe 2. I undressed slowly, folding my clothes with the same care as someone leaving a breadcrumb trail back to the version of themselves they might need to become again in a hurry. My chest tightened the moment I stepped into the stockings. The soft, stretching glide of the fabric traveling up my legs felt like a secret being stitched into place. Then came the shaping shorts, the ones that smoothed everything out. The ones that hugged me so tightly I always felt like I was being sculpted into someone better. Someone bolder. Someone who wasn't afraid of being seen, even if they never would be. When I slipped the dress on, the air changed. Actually changed. Like the room inhaled with me. It wrapped around my torso, cinched at my waist, and draped against my hips in a way I didn't have language for. Not pretty. Not cute. Something deeper. Like the version of me I kept locked behind spreadsheets and polite smiles was finally stepping forward to say hello. I tied the side ribbon carefully, a bow I had practiced hundreds of times behind closed doors. I looked at myself in the mirror, and there she was. Not fully Sophia yet, not without makeup or hair, but close enough that the fear felt smaller, and the desire felt louder. I walked, carefully at first, across the room, letting the hem brush against my thighs, feeling the weight of the dress in every step. My body moved differently. My shoulders loosened. My hips swayed without permission. My breath deepened. This wasn't pretend anymore. It hadn't been pretend for months. I sat at Isabella's vanity, the one she always said was off-limits for clueless hands, and let my fingers hover over the makeup brushes. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air, warm vanilla mixed with something floral and sharp. It was intoxicating and terrifying, because the closer I got to becoming Sophia, the more the world around me felt like thin ice. I picked up her foundation brush, then froze. A vibration buzzed on the vanity. My phone. My heart stopped long before my hand grabbed it. One message on the screen. From Isabella. Dinner starting late. Might be home earlier than planned. You okay? My stomach dropped so fast I could hear my pulse in my ears. Earlier? How much earlier? Minutes? Hours? Was she already in the car? Was she suspicious? I typed back quickly with hands that didn't feel like mine. All good. Just resting. Resting. In a pink dress, with stockings hugging my legs, and a heart that was beating loud enough to break the mirror. I waited for 3 seconds, then 5, then 10. No reply. That was worse than a reply. I inhaled slowly, deeply, and forced myself to keep going because stopping now felt like giving up a part of myself I had fought too hard to find. I dipped the brush into the foundation, stroked it across my jaw, around my cheekbones, down my neck. The transformation began like a whisper. A soft contour here, a warm blush there, highlighter catching the lamp glow like a second heartbeat. Every stroke made me braver. Every breath made me softer. As I leaned closer to the mirror, I realized something electric. I didn't want to take the dress off. Not in an hour. Not in 2. Not even if Isabella walked in. And that thought, that dangerous, thrilling thought, told me the truth. This wasn't just the job anymore. This was who I was becoming, whether I was ready for it or not. My makeup was barely half done when the shift happened. The shift from "this is exciting" to "this could ruin everything." But I kept going, because once you taste the version of yourself that feels true, you don't go back, even if you should. I reached for Isabella's wig stand, the one she used for clients who needed hair tests before events. A soft, chest-length brunette wig with gentle waves. Too glamorous for a normal night, too risky for a normal person. Perfect for me. I lifted it like something sacred, placed it carefully, adjusted the lace front until it framed my face like a whisper. And suddenly, I wasn't Amir looking at the mirror. I was someone softer, someone with secrets and curves and a pulse that matched the rhythm of the room. The wig brushed my shoulders in a way that made my breath catch. It felt real. Too real. I applied mascara with shaking hands, brushing it through until my lashes curled like they belonged to a different life. Then came eyeliner, sharp, clean, practiced because I had done this more times than I could admit even to myself. My lips were last. A pink shade Isabella called Rose Hush. A soft, feminine color that always complemented her skin. And when I pressed the lipstick to my mouth, dragging it slowly across my lips, I felt something inside me unlock. The mirror didn't show a man in makeup. It didn't show confusion, or shame, or pretense. It showed possibility. Sophia. But beauty always comes with danger. Especially tonight. I stood, wanting the full effect, and walked to Isabella's shoe rack, the one she kept organized by heel height like a soldier arranging weapons. My fingertips brushed along the pairs until I found the ones I always wanted to try. The nude pumps with the thin stiletto heel. The ones she said were only for special nights. Tonight was special. For the wrong reasons. For the right ones too. I slipped them on. The world lifted by 3.5 inches. And suddenly, walking felt like performing. Standing felt like confessing. Breathing felt like choosing a side.
Click.
The sound of the heels on the floor echoed through the apartment.
Loud. Sharp.
Unforgettable. Every step felt like a risk I shouldn't take. And a reward I couldn't ignore. I walked toward the living room mirror, letting the dress flutter around my thighs, adjusting to the sway of my body and heels. It felt too good. Too right. And that's when the doorbell rang. My heart slammed into my ribs, so hard I gasped.
No.
No, no, no. This wasn't real. This wasn't happening. I froze completely. Body stiff. Breath held. Mind spiraling. The heels felt like anchors. Another ring. Louder. Longer. I panicked. There were only 2 possibilities. Isabella. Home early.
Catching me like this.
Catching me as her. Not as the man she thought she'd left resting at home to neighbor. Which was worse in some ways. Because neighbors talked. And the building was full of the type who always looked too long. I turned off the lamp in one frantic swipe, plunging the room into dim shadows. My breath came in quick, tight bursts. The doorbell rang again. A voice followed. A man's voice. Hello, Amir? It's Daniel from next door. Your package was delivered to my apartment by mistake. Daniel, the gym-obsessed neighbor who always wore tank tops even in winter.
Tall. Broad.
Too curious for his own good. Of all people, him. I slapped a hand over my mouth to silence the breath that almost escaped. He knocked now. 3 firm knocks. Bro? You home? I saw your lights on earlier. I looked down at myself, the dress hugging my waist, the heels that made me stand like someone else entirely, the makeup so fresh it glowed even in the dark. If Daniel saw this, if he told anyone, my reputation at work, my relationship, my entire life, everything would collapse. I took a slow step backward, heels clacking despite my attempt to be quiet. He heard it. Hello?
Was that you?
You okay in there? The panic hit me like a wave. I backed into the wall, pressing my body flat against it, staring at the door like it was a ticking bomb. I had to stay silent. I had to wait him out. If I made even one sound, he'd know. A long silence. Then, finally, footsteps walking away. The soft thud of his door shutting across the hall. I didn't breathe for 5 whole seconds. Then 10. Then 20. The world slowly came back into focus. I sank down onto the edge of the couch, heels slipping slightly on the floor, hands trembling uncontrollably, lipstick tingling at the corner of my mouth. I had never felt closer to being exposed. Never felt this vulnerable. Never felt this alive.
My phone buzzed again.
A new message. From Isabella. Dinner delayed even more. Might be home sooner than I thought. Do you need anything? The irony made my stomach twist. Need anything? I needed a miracle. I needed time to stop. I needed breath I didn't have. But the words I typed back were simple. All okay. Just tired. A lie layered on top of a lie, painted with lipstick and panic. I stared at myself in the mirror again. My mascara hadn't smudged. My lipstick was still perfect. My wig stayed in place. And despite everything, the doorbell, Daniel, the fear, I didn't want to take any of it off. Not yet. Not tonight. The danger only made the transformation sweeter. The closer I came to being discovered, the more I realized. Sophia wasn't something I did anymore.
She was someone I was.
My pulse didn't settle for minutes after Daniel left. I kept replaying the sound of his voice through the door, each word like a hammer striking the thin wall between freedom and exposure. But once the fear dipped just a little, something else rose just as sharply. This thrill, this rush, it was becoming addictive. I stood from the couch slowly, letting the heels steady beneath me. The dress clung to my waist like it was made for me, and every movement whispered a reminder. You're still her. Sophia hadn't slipped away despite the chaos. If anything, she felt even more present. The apartment was quiet now, but not the peaceful quiet I used to love. This was the kind that felt alive, breathing, watching, waiting for whatever came next. And then I remembered something dangerous. The closet. Specifically, Isabella's private section of the closet, behind the sliding mirror door she always kept locked. Except the lock lately had been sticking. I walked toward it as if pulled by a string. The heels clicked in a rhythm that synced with the pounding in my chest.
Click, click, click.
I reached the mirror. My reflection looked back, alive, terrified, shimmering, beautiful. And I whispered to myself, you shouldn't open this. But the handle turned with a soft tick, and the door slid open. Inside, hanging in neat, perfect rows, were Isabella's personal pieces. The ones she never wore in the apartment. The ones she only used for high-profile photography clients. The ones that were expensive enough to have their own dust covers. But what drew my eyes wasn't the gowns, or the glittering heels, or the carefully organized jewelry. It was the box on the top shelf. A shiny black hat box with a ribbon tied around it. Isabella had once called it my emergency glamour kit. A joke, she claimed, something she would never use. But she never let me open it, which meant I needed to open it. My hand trembled as I reached up. The wig's soft curls brushed my cheek when I stretched. The heels wobbled for a moment. I almost fell. I almost made a sound loud enough to alert the entire building. But I caught myself, held my breath, pulled the box down slowly. The weight was surprising. Heavy.
Full.
I placed it gently on the bed, and my fingers slid the ribbon loose. Inside was a carefully folded outfit. But not just any outfit. A complete, head-to-toe woman's ensemble. Matching corset, skirt, blouse, jewelry, perfume, stockings, and a tiny note pinned on top. My throat tightened as I picked up the note. A single line in Isabella's handwriting. For when I finally revealed the truth, I froze. The world froze. Revealing the truth? What truth? Did she know? Had she always known? Was this her way of telling me without telling me? My mind spun so fast I had to sit down. The wig almost slipped off from how quickly I moved, and that brought a spike of panic sharp enough to sting. I pressed it back into place with shaking hands. I read the note again.
And again.
And again. Then another thought hit me. What if the truth wasn't about me? What if this kit wasn't about my secret at all? What if it was something related to her work, or her career, or someone else entirely? But the deeper truth, the one I couldn't admit, was that part of me wanted it to be about me. Wanted her to know. Wanted her to understand. Wanted to stop hiding. But fear always wins first. My breathing turned sharp. Because what if she did know? What if she left this here as a test? What if tonight wasn't just about me slipping into heels, but about me slipping into a trap? I put the note aside, because looking at it made my chest tighten too painfully. Instead, I focused on the outfit in the box. The corset was deep burgundy.
Silky. Structured.
Beautiful. The blouse was pearl white with lace trim. Delicate. Feminine. The skirt.
My God.
A high-waisted pencil skirt in jet black, cut to fit perfectly over curves I didn't naturally have. Everything was Isabella's size, not mine. And yet, I traced the outline of the skirt with my fingers. It felt right, like an invitation. Like she knew more about me than I ever dared to say. I reached into the box again. Under the clothes were jewelry pieces, dangling earrings, a thin gold necklace, and a bracelet I'd only seen her wear once on her birthday. Every item was feminine, intentional, coordinated. And then, beneath it all, barely visible, a second note.
Smaller.
Folded twice. I hesitated, then opened it. This one wasn't in her handwriting. It was in mine. My breath vanished. The world tilted. In my handwriting, curling and unmistakable, were 4 words. I think I'm her. My own confession. Written long ago. Hidden here. Forgotten. My eyes burned. My throat tightened. My heart collapsed inward. I didn't remember writing it. I didn't remember hiding it. But the moment I saw the words, I felt the truth pulse through every inch of me. Sophia wasn't a fantasy. She wasn't a hobby. She wasn't a costume.
She was the part of me
I had been trying to bury, even as I brought her back to life piece by piece. And I knew, in that moment, in those heels, in that pink dress, in that silent apartment, that I couldn't pretend anymore. Not to myself, not to Isabella, not to anyone. But then, the apartment door clicked. Not a knock, not a doorbell.
A key.
Sliding into the lock.
Turning. Slowly.
Softly. Isabella.
Home early.
And I was standing in her forbidden closet, dressed as another woman, holding a box full of secrets we both weren't ready to face. I thought yesterday was the worst day of my life. I thought the shock of seeing myself in makeup, in heels, in a skirt made me hit the limit of humiliation. But I was wrong, because today my wife decided my training would officially begin. I woke up to the sound of heels clicking on the wooden floor.
Sharp, confident steps.
Her steps. I opened my eyes and saw her standing by the bedroom door, tall, beautiful, powerful, holding a pink clipboard in her hand. She looked at me like she wasn't looking at her husband. She looked at me like she was inspecting a product she owned. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said, with a sugary sweet voice that hid danger underneath. "Your schedule is ready." My heart thumped hard. Schedule? She flashed an almost playful smile. Of course. A toy needs routine. I swallowed hard. I'm not a toy. She raised an eyebrow. Really? But you obeyed so well yesterday. Her fingers traced my cheek, almost tender almost. And by tonight, you'll obey even better. I didn't say anything, because somehow silence felt safer. She took my hand and pulled me to the bathroom. When she opened the cabinet, I froze. Everything inside was pink. Pink razor, pink lotion, pink shampoo, pink deodorant, even the toothbrush.
She turned to me.
Rule 1: from now on, everything you use is feminine. Your old products are gone. Gone? You threw them. Before I could finish, she lifted my chin. Toys don't ask questions. My throat tightened. There it was again. That soft voice controlling me like strings wrapped around my body. She held out the razor.
Shave.
Everywhere.
Completely.
Smooth. I did yesterday. She smirked. Do it again. Perfect means perfect. I stepped into the shower, feeling her eyes on me as I shaved every inch of my body, slowly, carefully, knowing she would inspect me afterward. My hands trembled, not from fear of getting cut, but from fear of failing her. When I stepped out, she ran her palm along my leg. Smooth, she murmured. Good girl. Good girl. The words sank into me like warm honey and cold ice at the same time. Why did my stomach twist when she said it? Why did I feel something dangerous, something new? Before I could breathe, she handed me a pair of heels. Put them on. You're practicing your walk. My walk. I blinked. But I don't know how to. Then learn. She placed one heel on my foot slowly, like she was crowning me. I stood up and wobbled immediately. She laughed softly. Relax your knees. Straight spine. Hips forward. Tiny steps. She walked around me like a trainer analyzing her trainee. Then her tone sharpened. Walk to the door and back. I tried. One step. Second step. Third. My ankle twisted and I stumbled forward, grabbing the wall before I fell. She sighed with disappointment. Again. I tried again. Then again. And again. She corrected every detail. Smaller steps. Relax your body. Point your toes. Don't stomp like a man. Her voice cut through my pride like a blade. At some point, sweat dripped down my back. My legs burned. My toes ached. But she didn't stop. Again. I walked. Again. I walked. Again. Her voice reverberated through me. And suddenly something shifted. My hips started moving. My steps became lighter. My body adapted. She saw it too. Her lips curled. There you go. My feminine toy is learning. I felt heat flood my face, humiliation mixed with something else I refused to name. When she finally let me rest, she walked to the closet and pulled out a dress. A soft, flowing, pastel pink dress with a tight waist and a flared skirt. When she hung it in front of me, my chest tightened. I can't wear that. You will. It's too girly. That's the point. She didn't wait for my permission. She simply started dressing me herself. Her fingers zipped up the back. Her hands smoothed the fabric over my hips. Her touch lingered on my chest. There, she said softly. Look at you. She turned me toward the mirror. I sucked in a sharp breath. The dress hugged me perfectly. My shaved skin glowed. The heels made my legs look longer. My body didn't look like a man who'd been forced into a dress. It looked like someone who fit into it. I stepped back, panicking at the thought. No, this isn't. I don't. She placed her hands on my shoulders. Stop thinking. Just obey. The worst part? My body listened to her more than my mind. She guided me to the kitchen table, where a small, velvet box waited. What's that? I whispered. A test, she said. Open it. My hands shook as I lifted the lid. Inside were a pair of delicate, feminine earrings. Long silver, dangling with tiny pearls. But my ears aren't. She pulled out a piercing gun. My breath vanished. You're not serious. Oh, I'm very serious. She touched my cheek again, almost lovingly. A toy should look pretty from every angle. I swallowed, heart pounding like thunder.
No.
I don't want. She leaned in close, her lips brushing my ear as she whispered. You obeyed everything else. Don't disappoint me now. My knees went weak. My breath trembled. My mind screamed no, but my head nodded. She smiled softly. Good girl.
Click.
A sharp sting shot through my ear. Then the other side. When she put the earrings on me, she stepped back and admired her work.
Perfect, she said.
Absolutely perfect. I felt sick and dizzy and confused and strangely warm. What was she turning me into? By evening, my legs felt like they were carved out of jelly. My ankles ached. My ears still tingled from the fresh piercings. Every tiny movement made the earrings sway and remind me that I wasn't just dressed like a girl anymore. I was becoming one. But the real fear began when she called me to the living room. She was sitting on the couch, legs crossed, posture elegant, and a small velvet pouch rested beside her, like she was about to unveil something dangerous. Come here, she said. Her voice was soft, but it left no room for choice. I walked toward her carefully, my heels clicking in a rhythm that still didn't belong to me. The dress swayed around my thighs. My heart hammered against the fabric like it wanted to break free. She tapped the floor. Sit. I obeyed, knees bending, skirt floating as I lowered myself in front of her. I didn't even realize the position until it was too late, kneeling at her feet, like I was presenting myself. Her eyes gleamed with satisfaction. You're learning, she whispered. She opened the velvet pouch and pulled out something that made my breath hitch. A collar. Soft pink leather, delicate stitching, a tiny silver heart charm dangling from the front. My throat tightened. Debbie, what is that for? She leaned forward and brushed her thumb along my jawline. To remind you of your place. My place. My voice cracked. She nodded slowly. You keep forgetting who's in control. This will help. I felt my pulse banging in my neck. I shook my head instinctively. I can't wear that. I'm your husband, not. She cut me off, her voice low, dangerous. You're what I decide you are. My breath stopped. She lifted the collar and held it to my throat. The soft material brushed my skin, sending a shiver down my spine. Say it, she whispered. Say what you are. My jaw trembled. I didn't answer.
Click.
She fastened the collar anyway. The sound echoed through the room like a lock sealing shut forever. She stepped back, admiring the sight of me kneeling with the pink collar. Then she exhaled warmly. Beautiful. The word burned into me. Not handsome. Not cute. Beautiful. She snapped her fingers. Stand. I rose shakily, dress falling perfectly around me. She walked around me in slow circles, inspecting me like I was a piece of art she'd crafted. Her fingertips skimmed my waist, my shoulder, the curve of my hip the dress created. Every touch lit up my nerves. From today onward, she said, you will not call me by my name. I froze. Then what do I call you? Her lips curled. You will call me Madam. My stomach dropped. Madam? She raised a brow. Say it. Mad. My voice failed. She stepped closer, gripping my chin. Say it. Madam, I breathed. She smiled slowly, wickedly. Good. She wasn't finished. You will ask permission for everything. Her fingers traced the collar. You will speak softly. Her palm slid down my chest. You will keep your legs together. Her eyes lowered to my skirt. And you will obey without hesitation. I don't think I can do all that, I whispered. She smirked. You already are. My knees weakened. She stepped away and pointed to the coffee table, where she'd laid out several makeup items. Lip gloss.
Blush.
Mascara. A soft, rosy lipstick. Show me what you learned, she said. Dear makeup. My eyes widened. I don't know how. Yes, you do. She folded her arms. I watched you yesterday. You followed every instruction. So now do it alone. My hands shook as I picked up the lip gloss first. The applicator hovered at my lips. My reflection in the mirror on the table looked back at me, collar around my neck, dress hugging my figure, fear in my eyes. Go on, she said, tone gentle but deadly. I applied the gloss. Then the blush. My cheeks warmed instantly. Mascara next. My lashes darkened, lengthened. The lipstick was last, soft pink like the dress. When I finished, she came behind me, placed both hands on my shoulders, and whispered, Look. I lifted my gaze. The reflection wasn't a man anymore. The soft lips, smooth skin, delicate earrings, feminine collar, gentle colors. They all blended into someone else. Someone softer. Someone prettier. Someone she controlled completely. I whispered, That's not me. She leaned in, lips brushing my ear. It is you. The real you. And soon you'll see it too. She guided me to the mirror in the hallway, full body, unforgiving. Stand here, she ordered. I stood. Now spin.
What?
Spin. I turned slowly, the skirt lifting slightly as I rotated. My face burned. My heart raced. She watched every movement, every sway of the fabric, every shift of my hips. Then she said the sentence that crushed me. From tomorrow onward, you won't need any reminders. Because this look, this body language, this softness, will be your new normal. My breath vanished. What do you mean? I whispered. She stepped closer, placing her hand on my cheek with unsettling tenderness. I'm not turning you into my feminine toy for a day, darling. Her thumb stroked my lips. I'm turning you into one forever. I stumbled back. And no, you can't. But she only smiled. I already have. The earrings, the makeup, the dress, the collar, the training. Piece by piece, she had been remaking me. Her voice lowered to a seductive whisper. And tomorrow, the real transformation begins. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the soft weight of the collar around my neck, the sting of the earrings, the faint scent of my own lipstick hovering near my pillow. Even after washing my face 3 times, the blush still clung stubbornly to my skin, as if my body itself didn't want to turn back. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, heart pounding. Is this really happening? Is she really trying to change me forever? And why do parts of me not hate it anymore? My thoughts spiraled until dawn, when a soft voice cut through the silence. Good morning, sweetheart. I froze. She was standing at the door, fully dressed for the day, hair straightened, makeup immaculate, heels clicking softly. But her eyes held a new kind of authority. Something colder. Something final. "Stand up," she said. My body obeyed before my mind could protest. She approached carrying a long garment bag. She hung it on the wardrobe door and unzipped it slowly, deliberately, like she wanted each second to burn into my memory. Inside was a dress. Not like yesterday's soft pink one. This one was deeper, richer, wine red, silky, hugging every possible curve. The neckline dipped slightly. The waist narrowed sharply. The skirt flowed like liquid temptation. "Madam, what is this?" She smiled. "Your uniform." "My uniform?" She nodded. "You said dressing like a woman was just part of your job. But now..." She ran a finger down the dress. "It's going to be your life." My voice cracked. "I can't wear that outside." "You won't be going outside." Her tone was calm, terrifying. "Not today." I exhaled shakily. Relief.
But it didn't last.
She leaned in, whispering, "First, I need to see how completely I can reshape you." My knees nearly buckled. She laid out everything on the bed. Stockings. A wig with soft curls. A padded bra. A corset. Shimmering lip gloss. A delicate necklace. Heels sharper and taller than yesterday. It wasn't just crossdressing anymore. It was transformation. She looked at me with commanding calm. "Strep." My breath stopped. What? You heard me. I feel exposed." "You're supposed to feel exposed," she said. "Control begins when you have nothing left to hide."
My hands trembled as I undressed.
Every piece of clothing I removed made me feel smaller, more vulnerable, more hers. When I was finally standing there, she stepped behind me, wrapping the corset around my waist. Deep breath. I inhaled. She pulled the strings.
Hard.
My breath shot out of me. My ribs tightened. My waist shrank. My posture changed instantly. "Madam, it's too tight." "It's perfect," she whispered, tying the final knot. "Now your body matches the role I'm crafting for you." She slipped the padded bra on me, adjusted the straps, and stepped back. My reflection looked alien. Worse, it looked believable. She guided me to the vanity table, forced me to sit, and began styling me like a doll. Foundation. Soft contour. Glossy lips. Mascara coating each lash. A subtle shimmer on my collarbones. I watched helpless. With every brush stroke, every shade, every correction of my posture, a new version of me emerged. A version I didn't recognize. A version I couldn't stop staring at. "Do you know what I see?" she whispered from behind. I shook my head. A woman who was always waiting to come out. "No," I whispered. "That's not true." She smirked. "Then why don't you look away?" My eyes were glued to the reflection. The soft curls of the wig framing my face, the glossy mouth, the delicate earrings, the painfully cinched waist, the dress clinging to me like it already belonged. I whispered, "What have you done to me?" She leaned forward, lips barely touching my ear. "I've shown you what you truly are." My entire body shuddered. She took a step back and clapped softly. "Now walk to me." I inhaled shakily and took my first step. The heels forced my hips to sway. The corset made my back arch. The wig brushed my shoulders with every movement. The dress whispered against my thighs. By the time I reached her, my legs were trembling. But she smiled, proud, victorious. "You see," she said softly, "you belong like this." I whispered, "Madam, please, I don't know who I am anymore." She cupped my face gently. "That confusion you feel?" Her thumb stroked my cheek. "That's the last part of him fading." My breath hitched. She leaned closer, voice lower, darker. "And after today, there will be no going back." My heart nearly stopped. What happens today?" I whispered. She smiled. "Your first real obedience test." My stomach dropped. "What kind of test?" She brushed her thumb across my lips, smudging my gloss gently. "The kind that decides," she whispered, "whether you stay my feminine toy for a night or for the rest of your life." The room spun. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Her hand wrapped around my collar, tugging gently, possessively. Are you ready? She whispered. I didn't answer. I couldn't. But she didn't need my answer. She smiled.
Good.
Let's begin. My pulse was still hammering from her last sentence. Your first real obedience test. Those words burned into my skin like the collar itself. She didn't explain.
She didn't warn me.
She simply turned and walked toward the hallway, heels clicking sharply, knowing I would follow. And I did. Not because I had to, but because something inside me, something she had been shaping, sculpting, softening, wanted to follow. The hallway felt colder than before. Each step in those heels made their red dress whisper secrets against my thighs. My reflection flashed in picture frames as we passed. My makeup, my hair, my corset, my walk. The woman I had become stared back at me again and again. She led me to our bedroom door. She paused. And then she said it. From this point on, you answer only when spoken to. Understood? I swallowed hard. Yes, madam. A pleased smile curved across her lips. Good girl. The words hit me like ice and fire at the same time.
Shame. Heat.
Confusion. Thrill. I couldn't even tell which feeling belonged to me anymore. She pushed open the bedroom door. But the room looked different. Dimmed lights.
Curtains drawn.
A single chair placed in the center of the carpet. A small tray on the bedside table holding. My breath caught. Not torture devices. Not restraints. Makeup. Lipstick, powder, eyeliner, brushes. Everything neatly arranged like a ceremonial set. And beside it, a camera tripod. Empty. Waiting. I froze in the doorway. Madam, what is all this? She didn't answer immediately. She walked to the tray, lifted the lipstick tube, and examined it like a surgeon preparing for a delicate procedure. This, she finally said, is where we discover the truth. The truth. My voice shook. She nodded. The truth of what you really want. What you've been running from. What you pretend to fear. I shook my head quickly. No, that's not true, I'm not. Stop. Her voice sliced the air. You don't speak unless spoken to. I closed my mouth instantly. She pointed to the chair in the center of the room. Sit. My legs moved automatically. The corset forced my back straight as I lowered myself. My skirt cascaded around me in a perfect, feminine shape. My knees pressed together, without effort. She placed the lipstick on the table and walked behind me. Her hands rested on my shoulders, light, warm, and terrifying. Do you remember, she whispered, why you ever put on women's clothes in the first place? My breath hitched. Her fingers tightened. Your job, wasn't it? I nodded. That little corporate event, she continued. That silly acting role where the men had to dress as women for the brand campaign. I closed my eyes. Everyone laughed. Everyone joked. Except you. My stomach turned to glass. You felt something that day, she whispered. Didn't you? I didn't answer. She leaned close, her lips brushing my ear. You felt alive. My entire body tensed. She walked around, facing me now. But instead of accepting that, you buried it. You lied to yourself. You pretended it was just a job. Her eyes lowered to the dress she'd put me in. Tonight, you stop pretending. She picked up the camera tripod. My heart dropped. Madam, please. I can't. She raised a finger.
Silence.
She positioned the tripod in front of me.
Slow. Precise.
Deliberate. Then she placed the camera on top, facing me exactly, head to toe. Every muscle in my body locked. Tonight, she said, you will do your makeup again. I blinked. That's the test. A cold smile spread across her face.
No.
She lifted the lipstick slowly, letting the metallic tube catch the light. The test is that you'll do it. She stepped toward me. Closer. Closer. While the camera is recording. My blood turned to ice. Madam, no, please don't make me. Her voice cut through me. Sit still. I froze. She knelt beside me, her face inches from mine, and whispered, You're afraid someone might see. Her thumb stroked my cheek. You're afraid the truth might come out. Her fingers brushed my lips. You're afraid you'll look too natural doing it. She leaned even closer. That's why this is the test. A trembling breath escaped me. What would happen if I fail? I whispered. She smiled slowly. You won't. She turned the camera on. The red recording light blinked. My heart nearly exploded. She placed the lipstick in my hand. It felt heavier than anything I'd ever held in my life. Her voice softened, dangerously gentle. Go on, sweetheart. Show me who you really are. My hand shook violently. The lipstick hovered an inch from my mouth. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The camera stared at me. The woman in the mirror stared at me. She stared at me, waiting. My lips touched the lipstick. A soft, glossy glide. I gasped. She exhaled, almost a moan of satisfaction. Good girl, she whispered. My eyes closed. My heart shattered. My identity cracked. The line between who I was and who I was being shaped to be blurred completely. The lipstick was still warm against my mouth when the sound hit us. A sharp, unexpected noise. A knock. Not gentle. Not accidental. Firm. Insistent. 3 loud thuds that shook through the walls. I froze. She froze. The room turned to ice. My heart lurched so violently, I thought the corset might snap. My hand tightened around the lipstick, smearing a streak of red across my fingers.
No.
The words slipped out without permission, small, panicked, broken. She turned her head toward the bedroom door, expression unreadable.
Come too calm.
The kind of calm that only appears when something is dangerously wrong. Another knock.
Thud. Thud. Thud.
My entire body jolted. Madam W., who is that? I whispered. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked slowly, heels silent on the carpet, as she moved toward the hallway. She peeked out through the small gap of the curtain beside the window. Her body stiffened. That's when I knew. It wasn't a delivery guy. It wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't a random knock. This was something bigger. Something that could ruin everything. Something that could expose me. She turned toward me, voice low, deadly serious. Do not move.
Not.
A muscle. My jaw locked. My breath halted. She stepped out of the bedroom and closed the door halfway, leaving it slightly open, just enough for me to hear. My breathing became shallow. I could feel my pulse throbbing under the collar. The camera's red recording light blinked steadily, aimed directly at my made-up face. I wanted to wipe the lipstick off. I wanted to rip the wig away. I wanted to tear off the dress. But her command echoed in my skull. Do not move. Hello, she called out, her tone suddenly cheerful, fake, polished. A man spoke. My blood froze. Isabella? Hey, it's me. I'm sorry to show up without calling. Your car wasn't in the driveway, so I thought you might be out, but I saw the lights on. It was her brother. Her older brother. The one who hated surprises. The one who always sensed when something was off. The one who, if he saw me right now, would murder me, then resurrect me just to kill me again. My stomach twisted. Footsteps approached the front door. He spoke again, voice closer. I just need to grab something I left last week. It'll take 1 minute. I felt sick. A minute was enough to destroy everything. If he saw me, if he walked down the hall, if he heard the click of my heels or sensed movement, I couldn't breathe. I covered my mouth, trying to silence the shaky exhale. Behind the door, I heard Isabella's voice. Sure. 1 second, let me grab it for you. He replied, amused. Why can't I come in? What are you hiding? I almost collapsed. No. Don't come. Please don't come. I whispered to myself, shaking uncontrollably. The camera kept recording. My wig slipped slightly against my scalp. One wrong sound from me, one footstep, one breath too loud, and everything in my life would end. Suddenly, footsteps marched down the hallway. Not Isabella's.
His.
He was coming. He was walking toward the bedroom. My body reacted before my brain could think. I reached for the wig to yank it off, but the bedroom door swung wider. I froze like I'd been shot. It wasn't him. It was her. She slipped inside quickly, shutting the door behind her. Her breathing was sharp, fast, full of controlled panic. She rushed to me and whispered urgently,
"He's coming to the hallway."
"We have 20 seconds." My voice cracked. "What do I do?" She grabbed my chin, forcing my eyes to meet hers. "Listen to me. You don't move. You don't speak. You don't make a sound. I'm going to block the hallway. If he tries to come in here—" Her voice faltered. "You can't let him see your face." Tears blurred my vision. "Madam, please, please don't leave me like this." She pressed a finger firmly against my lips. "You wanted to pass this test?" Her eyes softened, just slightly. "Now you have to survive it." With that, she slipped out again and quietly pulled the bedroom door almost shut, leaving only a 2-inch gap. Just enough for me to see a sliver of the hallway. Just enough to see him. Her brother stepped into the hallway.
Tall.
Broad shoulders. Sharp eyes that missed nothing. He looked around suspiciously. "Why is your bedroom door closed?" My heart stopped. Isabella stood in front of him, blocking the doorway with her entire body. "Because," she said lightly, "I'm reorganizing some things, and it's a mess. You don't need to go in there." He raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you clean at night?" My hands gripped the sides of the chair. My heels dug into the carpet. The corset crushed every breath. He took a step closer to the bedroom. Instinctively, I leaned back in fear, and the chair made a tiny, nearly inaudible creak. His eyes narrowed. What was that? My heart slammed so violently, I thought it might burst. Isabella laughed nervously. "Probably the house settling. You know how old this place is." He didn't believe her. I could see it in his eyes. He leaned sideways, peering past her, toward the gap in the door, straight toward me. I stopped breathing completely. My lipstick glossed, lips parted. The wig's curl brushed my cheek. The camera's red light blinked. And then,
his phone rang.
He cursed under his breath and stepped back, answering it. Isabella locked eyes with me through the crack. Her look said, "Don't move. Not yet." He ended the call quickly.
"Fine," he said.
"I'll leave. But something feels off." Isabella forced a smile. "You're imagining things." He grabbed the item he needed from the living room. She walked him to the door. My chest burned as I finally exhaled. My entire body was trembling violently. She closed the front door behind him, locked it. Then slowly, she walked back toward the bedroom. Her heels echoed down the hallway like a countdown clock. The moment she stepped inside the room, she didn't breathe. She didn't smile.
She didn't speak.
She just stared at me. Stared at the terrified, dolled-up version of me sitting helplessly in the chair. Finally, she whispered one sentence. A sentence that told me the real danger was only beginning. "Sweetheart, he's coming back tomorrow." My blood froze. "He thinks something is wrong," she whispered. "And now we have no choice but to take your transformation even further." I was pretending to fold some clothes, but my mind was stuck on one thing. Was she really turning me into her wife? And more importantly, could I even stop it? She pulled a long satin slip from the wardrobe, deep red, soft, slightly shiny. She smiled slowly. "You're doing so well, sweetheart. But we're not done yet." I stared at her. "Mira, what are you?" She cut me off. "Raise your arms." I closed my eyes and raised them. The slip glided over my head, smooth and whispering against my skin like silk sliding over a sleeping body. She whistled softly. "Look at you," she said. "You're becoming beautiful." My breath caught. "Beautiful," I repeated. That word felt like fire and ice all at once, burning into my ears. Mira stepped dangerously close, her perfume filling my chest. Warm vanilla. "Say it," she ordered, soft but commanding. "Say you will obey me tonight." My knees nearly gave out. "Obey," I whispered. She nodded. "You think this is just dress up?" "No, baby. Tonight you're mine." My heart was pounding, a mix of fear and a strange thrill. It was dangerous, but I couldn't look away. She picked up a golden choker from the dressing table. Simple, yet intimidating. A small heart charm dangled in the center. "Turn around," she commanded. I hesitated, then slowly faced away. She fastened the choker around my neck.
Click.
The sound echoed through me like a lock closing on my old self. This wasn't just a choker, it was a reminder. Tonight, I belonged to her. She motioned to the mirror. "Look." I lifted my gaze and saw it. The slip, the makeup, the hair, the choker. I didn't recognize myself. Is that really me?" I whispered. Mira stood behind me, hands on my shoulders. "Not you," she corrected. "This is my pretty little wife." My legs went weak. She guided me to the bathroom. "Sit on the stool." I obeyed. She knelt between my knees, eyes hungry and powerful. "Tell me something," she whispered. "Why didn't you stop me?" "Not once, not during makeup, not while dressing, not when I put the choker on." "Why?" I had no answer. The truth was, I couldn't stop it. And deep down, I wanted her to. I wanted her control. "Because part of you likes this," she whispered. "No, part of you needs this." Her words hit me like a shockwave. She walked behind me, adjusting my legs and posture. Toes together, back straight, arms relaxed, chin up. Perfect wife posture. I was stunned. This wasn't just training. It was a ritual. "Mira, what are you turning me into?" I asked, panic rising. She cupped my cheek. "Not turning," she said softly. "Uncovering. You've always had this inside. I'm just bringing her out." Her. A version of me that wasn't a man.
Soft.
Vulnerable. Submissive. Someone I couldn't stop looking at. For a second, I felt like I might pass out, but she held me steady. "Follow me," she said. She led me from the bedroom into the hallway. The bedroom door clicked shut behind her.
Click.
Lock. The sound of the lock sent a shiver down my spine. "Mira?" I whispered. She turned slowly, eyes sharp and commanding. "Tonight, you're not leaving this room unless I say so. You wanted transformation? You're getting it. But transformations need obedience." I swallowed hard. "Obedience?" She tapped the choker gently. "This isn't fashion. This is commitment." And now, she leaned close, lips almost touching my ear. "You're ready for the next step." She took my hand and guided me to the bed. A soft, dominating smile stretched across her lips. "Part of this transformation," she said, "is learning to serve beautifully." My body froze. My breath caught. My heartbeat thundered. Mira stepped back, surveying me like a sculptor admiring her creation. And I realized I was no longer just following orders. I was already hers. Mira didn't speak for a moment. She just stood there, watching me, studying me, like she was reading every thought I was too scared to say aloud. Her expression had softened, but her eyes were the same.
Sharp.
Knowing. Completely in control.
"Sit," she said.
Just one word. But it felt like a command that reached straight through my spine. I sat slowly on the edge of the bed, the satin slip brushing my thighs, making me even more aware of how exposed I was. Mira paced in front of me, heels clicking softly against the floor. "You know what your biggest problem is?" she asked. I swallowed. "What?" "You keep pretending this is an accident." She tilted her head. "But look at you. You followed every instruction without hesitation." I tried to protest. "I know, I was just nervous, and everything happened so fast and—" She touched my lips gently, silencing me. "Exactly. You didn't stop me." I shivered. Her touch was warm, but her control was colder than steel. She leaned in, locking her eyes with mine. "There's something I need to know," she said quietly. "Something I've been waiting for you to admit." She grabbed my chin softly and lifted it. "Do you want this?" Her voice was breathless, but sharp. "Do you want to be dressed, controlled, adored this way?" My chest tightened. My throat dried. I wanted to say no. I really did. But the words stuck like glue. Because she wasn't wrong. The fear, the thrill, the transformation, they were all mixing inside me like a danger storm. I looked away. I don't know. She smirked. That's not good enough. She walked behind me and slid her hands across my shoulders, steady and possessive. You're not confused, she whispered. You're scared of the truth. Her fingers traced the strap of the satin slip. My whole body tensed. Scared of wanting this more than your old life. My breath shook. Mira? She came around the front again, crossing her arms. Okay, she said. Then let's test something. I frowned. Test what? She lifted a pair of black stilettos. Elegant, glossy, sharp like weapons. She placed them in my lap. Put them on. My heart thudded. Mira, I can't walk in these. That wasn't the instruction. She leaned closer, her lips almost touching my ear.
Put them
on. Her voice vibrated through me. I picked up the first heel, sliding my foot into it. Then the second. The shoes made me sit straighter, legs tighter, posture softer. Mira stepped back, evaluating me. Her tongue pressed against her cheek, impressed.
See, she said.
You obey beautifully. I exhaled shakily. This was getting dangerous, emotionally, mentally, everything. She lowered her voice. I'm going to ask you something, and I want the real answer. I nodded slowly. She knelt down in front of me, her hands resting lightly on my knees. Her face inches from mine. Her breath warm against my skin. Tell me. Her eyes locked into mine. Who are you when you wear this? I froze. I knew what she was asking. Not my name.
Not my job.
Not the person I pretended to be. But the one I became. When the dress hugged my body. When the makeup softened my face. When the heels forced me into graceful submission.
Who was I then?
My heart pounded hard enough to hurt. Words collapsed in my throat. She waited. Patient. In control. You can say it, she whispered. Nobody else will hear it.
Just me.
I finally whispered, barely audible. I feel like someone else. Myra's eyes gleamed. Someone softer? I nodded. Someone prettier? My breath trembled. Yes. She smiled deeply. Not mocking. Not cruel. But triumphant. And someone who listens to me? At that, I felt myself break, just a little. The truth slipped out before I could stop it. Yes. She touched my cheek. Good girl. A shockwave ran through my entire body. I didn't know whether to panic or melt. Then Mira stood up, lifted my chin, and delivered the rule that changed everything. From now on, she said, whenever I dress you, you don't take it off until I allow it. Not even if you want to. My breath stopped. Mira, what? Why? She leaned close, her lips brushing the edge of my jaw. Because this isn't temporary anymore. She smiled slowly. Dressing like a woman was part of the job. Her fingers slid down my neck, tracing the choker. But now, her voice dropped completely. It's part of your life. My mind spun. My pulse skyrocketed. I felt the room tilt. And then, a sudden sound. A car door slamming. Outside the house. Mira froze. My blood turned cold. Who was that? Why were they here? Mira whispered sharply. Don't move. But footsteps were already approaching the door.
Fast.
Confident. Somebody was home. And I was sitting on the bed in heels, makeup, a satin slip, and a choker. With nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Myra's eyes widened. That can't be. A key turned in the front lock. My heart stopped. My transformation wasn't a secret anymore. Not after this. The key turning in the front door froze the air in the room. My body went stiff. My breath locked in my lungs. I looked at Mira. She looked back at me. And for the first time that night, she looked scared. Not controlled. Not playful.
Not dominating. Scared.
Who's that? I whispered, panic growing in my throat. She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed my hands, tight, almost painfully tight. Listen to me, she said, voice trembling. Whatever happens, do not speak. My heart dropped. Why? I whispered. Mira, what's going on? Who? She squeezed harder. I said, don't speak. Her eyes were wild, urgent, like she wasn't in control anymore. The front door slammed shut, footsteps echoing through the hallway. Heavy, purposeful, getting closer. I tried to stand, but the heels wobbled under me. I nearly fell. Mira caught me by the arm.
Sit.
Stay still, she whispered harshly. I sat at the edge of the bed again, knees shaking, satin slip clinging to my skin like it had fused onto me. The voice came next, deep, irritated, too close. Mira? Why the hell is the door unlocked? I froze. I knew that voice. Not well, but enough. It was her older brother, Liam. The one who lived an hour away. The one who hated surprises. The one who hated me. My blood turned to ice. Mira? His footsteps got louder. Closer. He was heading directly toward her bedroom. Mira whispered sharply. Stay quiet. Please. I could barely breathe. Her bedroom door was slightly open, just enough for light to slip through, and for him to see us the moment he stepped close. I heard his boots stop right outside. Mira? Are you in there? Mira forced a calm voice. Why, yeah. 1 second. But her voice cracked. He could hear it. Why do you sound out of breath? Liam asked, suspicion rising. Mira panicked. She turned to me, eyes blazing with desperation. Hide, she mouthed silently. Hide now. I tried. But the heels, the slip, my shaking body. I could barely move. I stumbled to the side, reaching for the closet. Too late. The door swung open. Liam stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, filling the doorway like a shadow. And his eyes landed exactly on me, wearing a satin red slip, high heels, makeup, choker, sitting on his sister's bed like a forbidden secret she tried and failed to hide. His jaw dropped open. His eyebrows shot up. His entire body went still. For a second, complete silence. No one breathed. Then Liam's voice cracked through the air like a whip. What the hell is going on in here? My stomach twisted. My hands shook. The room felt like it was spinning. Mira stepped in front of me instinctively, shielding me with her body. Liam, stop, just listen. But he wasn't listening. His eyes scanned me slowly, from my heels, to my legs, to the slip hugging my thighs, to the makeup and wig, and finally to the choker locked around my neck. His face went white. You. He pointed at me, stunned, furious, confused. Why are you dressed like a... He choked on the word. Mira snapped. Don't you dare say it. No, what is this? He yelled louder now. The hell did I just walk into? I felt my chest collapse. My humiliation, my fear, my secret, all crashing into the open. Mira kept her arm out protectively. Liam, calm down. Let me explain. He shook his head, stepping closer. His voice was low, dangerous. Explain? Explain why your boyfriend is dressed like you're like. What is this? A fetish? A joke?
He stopped.
He saw my eyes.
Red. Wet.
Terrified. Something shifted in his face. But not enough. The room was thick with tension. Electric, choking, explosive. Mira gritted her teeth. You have no right to judge. Oh, I have every right when I walk in and see this. He gestured at me, like I was a thing, a mistake, a disaster. I couldn't take it. I tried to stand,
but the heels slipped and I stumbled again.
Liam caught my arm before I fell. Not gently, not softly, just caught me. And for one terrifying second, we were inches apart. His voice dropped to a cold whisper. Why didn't you tell her the truth? Truth? I blinked. What truth? I whispered. But he didn't answer. He looked at Mira. And Mira suddenly stiffened. Liam, no, she warned. Don't. He stepped back. Jaw clenched. Hands shaking with anger. You didn't tell him? He asked Mira quietly. You really didn't? Mira looked panicked now. Like she was the one with a secret. Mira? I whispered, heart sinking. What is he talking about? What truth? She didn't answer. Liam stepped between us. His voice was cold, She didn't tell you why this matters so much, did she? I looked at Mira again. Her eyes were glossy. Afraid.
Guilty.
Mira? She whispered. I didn't want you to find out like this. I felt sick.
Dizzy. Betrayed.
Mira, find out what? She opened her mouth. But before she could speak, someone else knocked on the front door.
Hard.
Urgent. Like they knew exactly what was happening inside. Liam's eyes widened. Mira froze. I felt my entire world tilt. Who else was here? Why now? Mira whispered one word under her breath. The word that changed everything. Not them. The knock on the door wasn't casual. It wasn't hesitant. It was urgent, demanding, like someone knew exactly what was happening inside. Myra's face drained of color. Her hand went to her lips. Her eyes flicked to me. Not them, she whispered again. I swallowed hard. Who's there? I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled me close, almost shielding me with her body. The hallway fell silent for a heartbeat, and then the door handle rattled violently. Mira whispered into my ear. Hide everything. Every inch of you. Don't move. Don't breathe. I'll handle this. I nodded weakly, panic clawing through me. I tried to steady my shaking hands. The heels felt impossible now, a trap rather than empowerment. The satin slip clung tighter than ever. The choker, my symbol of submission, pressed cold and unyielding against my neck. A deep voice echoed from outside the room. Mira, I know you're in there. Open up. I froze. It was a neighbor, a nosy, curious neighbor who had always suspected something unusual about our relationship. I could feel my stomach twist in knots. If they saw me like this, like her, my secret would be out. Mira moved in front of me, eyes blazing. I'm telling you, don't push it, she whispered. She opened the bedroom door just slightly, enough for the hallway light to spill in. The neighbor's face appeared in the crack, eyes squinting, mouth forming words. And in that moment, I realized how vulnerable I really was. Myra's hand shot out, gripping the neighbor's wrist. Stop. Just stop, she said, her voice sharper than I had ever heard. The neighbor recoiled. I heard. Is someone there? Mira didn't answer. Instead, she glanced at me. Her eyes were calm, calculated. And in that glance, I understood. Whatever happened next, I was now fully under her control. She smiled softly at the neighbor. Oh, it's nothing. Just some clothes. Don't worry. The neighbor blinked, suspicious. But for a moment, Myra's confidence seemed to freeze time. The hallway was quiet again. She turned to me, whispering, You see why I said obedience matters? Tonight there's no going back. I nodded silently, heart hammering. The truth hit me. Dressing like a woman had been part of the job. But now, it wasn't temporary. It wasn't a game. It had become my life. Before I could process it further, Myra's phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Her eyes widened. Not in fear, but calculation. They're coming tomorrow, she murmured. Her gaze locked on mine. And we need to be ready. I felt every nerve in my body tense. The satin slip, the heels, the choker, they weren't just clothes anymore. They were a symbol of my complete transformation, my surrender, my new life under her command. A sudden sound from outside. Footsteps. Faster this time. Someone was moving toward the bedroom. Myra's eyes flared. She grabbed my hands. Remember, she said, her voice soft but deadly serious. Do exactly what I say. Not a word. Not a move. Not a breath out of place. You are mine completely. And tonight you'll prove it. I nodded, unable to speak. The doorknob rattled violently. And then, silence. I couldn't see who was out there. I didn't know if it was Liam returning or the neighbor, or someone else entirely. All I knew, my life had changed forever. The satin clung to my body. The choker pressed against my neck. The heels forced me into submission. And the person on the other side of that door, they were about to discover exactly who I had become. Who is at the door? Will my secret be exposed? And how far will Mira push me into my new life? The answers will come in the next episode.